Three messages before today's interview educates and motivates you. First, if you're a domain name investor, don't you have unique legal needs that require domain name technical know-how and industry experience? That's why you need David Westlow of Wiley Rein. Go search for David Westlow on Domain Sherpa, watch his interview, and you can see for yourself that he can clearly explain issues, can help you with buy-sell agreements, deal with website content issues and UDRP actions, and even help you write your website terms and conditions. David Westlow is the lawyer to call for internet legal issues. See for yourself at newmediaip.com. Second, managing multiple domain name marketplace and auction site accounts is a pain. Inevitably, you forget to sign into one and you lose a great domain, or worse. Now imagine using a single, simple to use and comprehensive control panel to manage all of your accounts. That's Protrata. You can set up search filters, analyze domains, automate bidding, list domain names for sale, buy domains across all major marketplaces. Protrata also has a new semantic engine that builds Google-friendly websites with rich content and network feeds. Sign up at Protrata.com to get 20 free credits and start building and monetizing your domains today. Finally, if you have questions about domain names, where should you go to ask them? The answer is dnforum.com. Not only is DN Forum the largest domain name forum in the world, it's the best. You can learn about domain names and the industry, buy and sell domain names, talk about the domain name news that's happening in the industry, and even meet domainers just like yourself. Register for a free DN Forum account and begin advancing your skills and knowledge today. And when you do sign up, send me a friend request so we can connect on DN Forum. Here's your program. Hey everyone, my name is Michael Seiger and I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, the website where you come to learn the secrets of the domain name industry directly from the experts. More than 500,000 businesses start up in the United States every single year. Magnitudes more are contemplated. And in tech communities like Seattle, where I live, and Silicon Valley, where I used to live, even more are developed every single day and tested amongst friends and in networking groups. So the question for this show is this: what do startup entrepreneurs need to know about domain names that's not currently published about? Joining me to answer this question is Steve Jones. Steve is the co-founder and COO of Domainate, a domain name broker, training, and consulting service provider. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be back.
It's great to have you back on the show, Steve. For those that haven't seen your first interview on Domain Sherpa, you can go to domainsherpa.com/Steve-Jones and learn about what we discussed last time, which are your 11 steps for domain name due diligence. So watching that show will give you all the things you need to know about buying a domain name to make sure that you don't infringe on somebody else's trademark and end up losing your domain name that you might have spent thousands of dollars for. Make sure it's not stolen. Make sure it wasn't used for unscrupulous purposes in the past, like spamming or adult websites, and make sure it's not on blacklists.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned in the introduction, Steve, today we're going to focus on some of the realities of the domain name industry. Let me start by asking you a high-level question about the domain name industry. If a startup entrepreneur wants to buy a domain name like, let's say, mobileapps.com, or tablets are big, let's say tabletorganizer.com, a good two-word domain name for a new product or service, what's been the general trend in desirability and cost for premium domain names like these?
Well, Mike, first off, the domain space has been continually growing since it first began in the 80s. And the internet has become vital for business in nearly every industry. And it's even become vital for smaller local businesses that may not have needed an online presence before. So demand for domains overall has only grown over time. Then when you get into premium domains, they have always had high demand once the internet started attracting business, since they stand out, they convey authority, and they're much more easily memorable than lower quality domains, ones that are, say, 3 or 4 words where there's some brandable terms in them that people would need to remember. So And the supply of premium domains for sale hasn't really, it's either stayed put or gone down over time because businesses getting their hands on premium domains take them off the market. And, there's transactions going on like that all the time where, large premium domain sales and then basically that domain's gone, pretty much forever in most cases. So, with the demand going up and the supply going down, the cost of premium domains has been steadily increasing quite a bit as a whole. So they're just simply not as easy to get. And owners of premium domains understand the high desire for them and place higher prices on them.
Okay, that makes sense. I often talk to friends and acquaintances in the technology space about domain names. A good example is my neighbor next door to where I live. She wanted to start a wedding consultant business where she will actually be the consultant for people that are thinking about getting married in our local area, and she'll, offer up a bunch of locations and make sure that the caterers are set up to basically handle all the logistics. And so we were trying to focus on a geographic domain name for her, like the city name plus wedding or weddings in something or other. And it is amazing. Every single domain name we would go and look up has been reserved by somebody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, like I said, now local businesses are having to go online as well to attract attention because more and more people are searching online before they even go to a local business, either to look for reviews, look for a website for more information. And so, when you're talking about local businesses, a premium domain for them may be simply like a geo, in case of here, San Diego weddings.com could be their premium. It could be the thing that would be the best option for them. And those are equally in high demand and are very hard to get now.
Yeah. And so while weddings.com would be, or wedding.com, one of those two might be the ultimate wedding domain name. If I'm just a person in, a small town in Seattle and I want to open, cover my area, seattleweddings.com may be the best domain name for me in that case.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So let's say, I did an interview in the past with Stephen Boal, Boal, who is the CEO of coupons.com. They received funding a few months ago that valued their company at about $1 billion. And I had him on the show talking about the power of a generic keyword domain name. In his case, he owns coupons.com, which is the name of the company, and it also defines an entire industry around coupons. Whether it's a single word or, a 2 or a 3 word like seattleweddings.com, what's the first thing that business people who need these domain names should know about premium domain names?
The main thing they should know is that they might simply be out of reach. Their top option might either not be for sale. They might already be owned by a business in their industry who's using it. And then even if it is for sale, the price might be beyond the budget that they have to work with. Especially a startup, with kind of a smaller budget, especially in an industry that's large where, a lot of the higher end domains are going to be, 6 or 7 figures. Those domains are probably going to be out of reach, because they simply, even if they're for sale, they're not going to be able to afford them. So, everyone wants a premium name for their business, but, when few of them are for sale and few buyers are able to get them, it's, that's just a fact of life. There's not going to be very many opportunities where you're going to buy the best domain for your business.
Sure. I learn by examples, and I know a lot of people can understand what you're saying, but they can't actually internalize it until they start to think of the numbers. So you're throwing out 6-7 figure names. Let's work our way down and do a few examples. What would be like a 7-figure, $1 million or more? What would be a 7-figure domain name that people might buy or that has recently transacted? Do you know offhand?
Well, for instance, if you want to look at seven-figure names, you can look at practically anything that Salesforce.com buys. They buy tons of extremely high quality top tier generics. And one example that I know offhand is Social.com, which I believe they purchased for 2.6 million.
Wow.
And but that's one of the best, if not the best, domains for social media, social networking, basically social enterprise, which is kind of what they're after. And, another example, I believe they recently bought work.com. They've bought data.com, database.com, all of those I believe they paid seven figures for. So, just extremely top tier, but also in very large industries, ones where the best domain, is pretty much going to mean a lot of money in, in direct traffic going to it, or just the branding aspect. It's the most premium brand in that industry, and because of that, they can hit the ground running, with the power of that domain.
Yeah, and that makes sense. They're short, they're single words, they're dictionary words. They're probably words that a lot of people just type into the browser. I never really really understood why people actually type in domain names into their browser without just going to Google or Bing and typing in their search and seeing what they say the authoritative website is. But people do it. I've actually bought a couple of domain names. I see it for myself, and I'm amazed. So, I can only imagine that domains like data.com or work.com or social.com are going to get, good amounts of type-in traffic. So that makes sense. That gives me an idea that single words, generic words, generic meaning it's not a trademark item like, Salesforce is being a trademark maybe of Salesforce.com or something like that, where people might screw up or make a typographical error of the domain name to try and get traffic. So those make sense. Now, let's take a step down from there because, I can't afford anything like that. I know no startups can afford something like that unless they're just have a major amount of funding and they're willing to spend a big portion of that on, their marketing budget, which may include getting the category killer domain name, like coupons.com. So let's take a step down from there and look at six-figure domain names, $100,000 to, $999,000. What would a domain name like that be?
Oh, let's see. It could either be the top tier premium domain of a smaller industry. For instance, speakers.com for like, computer speakers or something. It's certainly, a sizable industry. There's a lot of speaker sales, but it's not something, extremely huge like, insurance or real estate or social media or whatnot.
Right.
On top of that, you can even look at ones that aren't necessarily top tier, but they're in the bigger industries. For instance, like an insurance domain, like, cheapinsurance.com. It's something where, it may be an additional word with insurance, to where it's even almost like a brandable word. I mean, cheap, it can be a brandable word, but people search for it. It's a huge search term, and insurance is extremely lucrative. Especially all the different areas combined. I'm sure it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So, considering that and considering, I believe that insure.com had sold for like 16 million, and the carinsurance.com and .org, I think, both had extremely high sales. In an industry like that, you could even take a step down and those domains are going to be worth six figures.